First and foremost, thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Jeff Brown. I'm the Director of People and Operations of the Heaps Estrin team. I'm joined with my colleague, Megan Andrew. And you may notice we are not Kaylee Heaps. She could not be with us tonight. She sends her regrets. She did everything in her power to be with us, but the show must go on, and we have some amazing presenters here for you tonight. But first, I just want to set a little bit of the stage. So we have invited you today to talk about a very timely subject. You look out the window, you might be asking yourself, why do I live here? I know I asked that when I was walking in some sort of downpour. It might be nice to have a recreational property internationally. It might be nice to have a good idea, should I be renting, buying, investing right now south of the border? And that's where we have some amazing experts here today to speak to just that. So we're very, very lucky to have Megan Probst from the Probst Group here. Megan, just please, everyone knows who you are.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Michelle Nunez as well. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Also in our audience, Leah Verbeau is also here from the Dominican Republic, which is fantastic.
Yes.
So first and foremost, a big round of applause to welcome you all flying in. Last but not least, hiding in the back is one of my favorite people, Jordan Weinberg. There we go. So Jordan is going to give us some recap and perspective after the ladies give their remarks. So Jordan is our go-to accountant and has gotten me out of a bunch of pickles at work, so I really appreciate him being here. And he will ask some really good questions and have some good tips to think about when you are considering a purchase south of the border or internationally. Jordan's just going to give his perspective. If we're going deep into a certain expertise, he'll know someone on his team that can help you as well. We want to keep this very conversational, very light. So the agenda will feel very much like the ladies taking over for the first 15, 20 minutes or so. And then we'll invite Jordan up and then open it up to Q&A. So please continue to help yourself to appetizers and a glass of wine as we go through. And then at the end with the Q&A, Megan is here to really sew together our perspectives as agents, both here in Toronto and agents who work on a global scale. So we're lucky enough to network with people like Megan, as well as Michelle, so that we can give a well-rounded, holistic experience for our clients. And so Megan will have some insights on that. Megan is who I trusted for my best friend to purchase their dream home. Where was that? Over on Putnam? That's fantastic. You've been with HET for? Right. So Megan knows HET better than many. So it'll be good to have her perspective on the panel. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Megan and Michelle. Thank you so much for coming, and over to you.
Thank you. And thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
I just want to thank the entire Heaps Estrin team. I'm very excited. 2 years ago, I was able to make this connection, and it definitely share the philosophy of our team collectively.
Yes.
I was actually reading one of your pamphlets, your material downstairs. I was talking about investing in real estate is definitely a strategic approach, and you need to address it in the right way and look at all factors. So that's really why we wanted to come here today. Briefly about me, I'm actually a founding agent at Compass, South Florida. It's actually the #1 brokerage, independent brokerage in the United States. We have 30,000 agents across the nation. And we deal with the luxury market, but we also working with new development experts such as Michelle. So I have real estate in my blood. My father was a real estate developer in the Caribbean, but I'm a native to South Florida, and I've lived across the Tri-County. So with that, Michelle, you want to give a little backstory of yourself?
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. And also for our online viewers as well. We welcome you as well. You're not forgotten about. Well, again, my name is Michelle Nunez, and I come with about 26 years of experience. I'm actually originally from LA, from California. I moved to South Florida in the year 2000 and been doing real estate from a commercial real estate background all the way to residential. Some of my specialties is new development. So I work for Fortune Christie's International. We are the biggest and one of the biggest developers in the state of Florida. So what we do is we specialize in new developments, luxury, like the Mandarin Oriental in Miami, which has just been launched, and then Ritz Carlton and Pompano Beach. I think we got a lot of Pompano people in here. Okay. And listen, we just have a huge luxury market. In addition to that, we do general real estate. So we specialize in all sectors. And then additionally to that, we actually do sales and marketing for other developers. So we really cover a nice 360 of the business in Florida, and we are really on the top. So the collection of her and I, we've got about, oh my gosh, almost 35 years in experience between us both, covering literally all sectors of the market. So today, I love the intimacy of this gathering here because we can do a lot of Q&A. Instead of hearing some of misconceptions maybe on the news and this and that, or you can hear it from us. We're on the ground. We do this 7 days a week, literally. Because as you guys know, real estate does not sleep. No holidays, no nothing. And you guys as Canadians keep us very busy, as a matter of fact. And that's why we are here, because what we're seeing is sectors from various, from new dev to existing real estate. We see Canada on the map, and we're going to go through that a little bit more specifically, but we're seeing a big drive in Canadians, and we're like, let's go visit them. What's going on here?
we're in our market, we're at 54% are Canadians. So when we saw that number and we saw so many Canadians coming into the sales galleries or reaching out to us unrepresented a lot of the times with, you know, questions about the market, we said we really need to come and meet you in person. And that actually also drew us to, we'll be speaking about Dominican Republic as well. There's a nice synergy between Dominican Republic, Canada, and South Florida. So and I wish we had more time. So I'm sorry we're going a little fast, but we have a lot of information to cover. So market update, what's going on. Michelle, I think this is a great slide for you, considering, you know, you're from LA, and you guys know what's coming with migration here. But what's happening domestically in the United States, I think, is very important to understand. Especially from a
so let's talk about life after COVID. Oh boy, what a subject. So all our lives change, no matter where we're from, everybody in the entire world, but domestically, you guys are our neighbors, Canada. All of our lives change. That means when our lives change, the paths of real estate, we start to look, where do we want to be? Where do we want to live? I think we were too closed down. Where was the huge lockdown? We are seeing new paths of exodus states. I give you New York, Chicago, California. That's my home state. Everybody's leaving. Anybody with wealth. So if there's an exodus of wealth leaving particular states like this, and even Canada, you guys are one of them, they're coming to Texas. Most importantly, they're coming to Florida. They're saying, you know what? We want a different life. There's something else that's going on. So let's regroup. So we're exiting, but we're getting a new injection of wealth, and Florida is booming, unlike we have ever seen in our history. Literally new cities are being birthed out of the ground. I know just living there, new restaurants, new shops, new big areas. I mean, celebrities are coming in. We've got 56 billionaires just in the state of Florida. So that mass exodus that are leaving the rest of the United States domestically, but not only that, internationally, we have an international audience. Everybody's eyes are on Florida. To be very honest, the entire state, not just South Florida, could be Tampa, could be Jacksonville, could be St. Augustine, could be Orlando, could be Naples.
Yes, Naples.
You know, I'm just saying, as the entire state as a whole, we're here specifically about the South Florida region, you know, really the Tri-County state. So it's been very interesting to watch the new migration paths of people who are coming from different states.
Absolutely. And how many in this room have been to South Florida? Okay, wow.
Here,
how long has it been in the past 3 years that you've been? Okay, so wow. Okay, because
I just got back.
You know, I drive around and look at the landscape, and I can't even believe what's happening, you know, with the different cycles. It's not just a residential boom, like you said.
It's a commercial boom, it's a retail, it's shopping, it's new brands. Entertainment areas. Like, for example, that new site in Pompano, that new what is it? Is it golf? Is it Top Golf, right? So Top Golf. I mean, new entertaining areas that are fun.
Yes.
They're pickleball huge courts,
Yes,
like
yes.
massive things. We're
Yes.
just, it is,
Paddle
it's like a
tennis.
Disneyland playground.
Yes.
We live there and it's
Yeah.
amazing. But again, let's focus back on the real estate because you want to find your next vacation home, or maybe you're going to move there full time. I don't know. There's a lot of different type of product that's available for you. And that's what we want to really kind of narrow down here.
So this just briefly goes over some of the characteristics of the Canadian buyers that are coming into South Florida. You know, we have a lot of cash transactions happening, but we are also seeing, and we have some financing options available for Canadians specifically. 91% are intended use for rental, vacation, or both. And we have 56, a little bit over half that are purchasing condos. And then 50% purchase in that central city urban core. And it's almost, you have a 58% blend of Broward and 37% of Miami-Dade County. Those are the destinations that they're going. Yes.
Megan, would Naples be considered urban?
That's more of a
Coastal.
Yeah, yes, it's
Coastal
coastal.
beach.
Yes, but with
Trying to understand the
yes,
context. Certainly
Yes.
Miami.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
Yes.
Miami is that new urbanization lifestyle. Really, what's happening in Miami, and
Yeah.
I'll get into it a little later on. But we're really becoming a mini New York, like a mini Manhattan. It is dynamic. What
Wow.
I'm watching
Yeah.
before my eyes, and it's a whole new city being transformed. So from today to the next 5 years, the entire Florida map will look entirely different. The people that I work for, the developers that I work for, they work very closely with cities. And so it's not just the building, but they're getting into office, they're getting into retail, the shopping. They want destination. So what's important to the real estate side is your lifestyle.
Yes.
They really focus on lifestyle. After they, because after you leave the condo, you're out done with the beach or what have you. It's destination, entertainment, restaurants, and these developers have lifestyle on their mind.
Yes.
Definitely.
And with that, do you want to talk about, we really broke it down into
3
the
segments.
importance of the segments when you're looking for a property in South Florida. So if you want to talk about step 1, that's the most important.
Well,
right?
step 1 is
areas of
identify
focus.
which county you want to be in. So we're really we're going from Palm Beach County, which is on the north side. You got Palm Beach County, you've got Miami, which is the most southern part, where you've got Miami, South Beach, and so forth. And then you've got Broward County, which really is in the middle geographically. So these are the 3 counties that we really specialize in. And number 1, identify which county you want to be in. I briefly spoke with Ryan here, and he says, you know what, I really love the Miami corridor. I love the whole Brickell scene. That's amazing. You just identified where you want to be. So then we met with you. Yeah, exactly. And he has a place already in Broward County.
Exactly.
He's a whole Pompano. He's like, I love Pompano. And so identify, number 1, what is your county? I think that's the very first start,
And and it's important too, because a lot of people, as we've been chatting with so many Canadians, they're very surprised that so much change is happening, and they really are focused on one area that they've known because they've been going with their families since they were little children, and they don't realize how dynamic it is and how much it's changed. So it's definitely important to explore your area.
Definitely explore those tri-counties and see kind of where you fit, where your where your friends and family are. I know you and I had a conversation about, hey, I want to bring in my friends and I want them to live kind of where I live, and you create this community, right? So figure out the county between these 3 tri-county states and figure out where your friends are, so you have your own new community there in South Florida. Step 2 is identifying really what type of product do you want. So here's a 3, for example, you've got a single family home, and maybe you want a single family home on the intercoastal, on the sand, or on a golf course, you've got various options. Or this is what we really call our hybrid product. It's a townhome. There's amazing townhomes where it's new construction or existing. This is basically between a hybrid is really kind of between a home and a condo. So again, there's a little bit of product for everybody depending on what your lifestyle and what you need. The third one is a condo on the sand. I mean, you can't get any better than that.
And there's intricacies that we can help to guide you, because there's the maintenance. With a single family home, you have to think about maintenance, you have to think about insurance costs, the age of the property. We guide our clients through that. With a townhome, you may want to have
a strategy,
right? You may want to have a residential, a townhome in a residential area that's close to a city, because you want space. We have a lot of families that have grown. They're generational. They have grandkids. They want to have more space. So maybe a condo doesn't necessarily fit. And a condo, turnkey, lockup, insurance costs are included, and we walk you through what you need in terms of
You got us thinking.
I was just gonna ask, what type of product do you think will perform faster?
Oh, that's actually a great question. Performance of product. Wow, look at that. Actually, you know what? Because Florida is because there's such a mass exodus of what's happening right now, and again, all of this is post-COVID. Really, it's what's happening. Because of that, all sectors that you see are really thriving. You'll see that the amount of inventory that we have is very low historically from what we've seen, and single family homes are thriving, townhomes are thriving, condos are thriving. They really are, and that's not just a marketing pitch or a sales pitch. It is because of the truth, and that's why we're here. We want to tell you exactly what's going on. We'll give you pros, cons, but yes, all sectors.
I would like to say to that too is newer construction is a great way to go for carrying costs and maintenance costs. And if you're in an area, because we have a lot of people that don't want to be in a neighborhood where every house looks the same, they want charm. So buying a home where the plumbing, the electrical, the roof are structurally sound. Maybe you don't want, a lot of our Canadians, they don't want to get their hands into a year-long renovation project. So we can help them to make sure the bones of the home are in great shape, and it may be only cosmetic. So I would definitely say newer construction. Yes, Joe?
Yeah, I was going to ask, you talked about a mass exodus.
Yes.
During the age demographic, that started running to, you talk about what's a better investment. If you're on the older side, you might keep a condo. And is there an age demographic that you're seeing that the majority of people are at?
That is such a great question, and you know what I've seen this new.
I just got a text from a client online, and they can't hear.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Thanks, Candy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll go over to Sheldon, but please proceed.
Thank you. That's such an excellent question. What I have been seeing lately, the demographic age point, because we do analysis, because I'm on site and I'm in development, we do a lot of demographics with the marketing. Where are the people coming from? Where are their age? We go to the analytics of it. We're seeing younger.
Yes.
Because, and I'm going to tell you why, this is very interesting. Post-COVID, also a lot of people made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whether you were in tech, whether it was crypto, whether it was whatever sector, social media.
Oh yeah.
So you're starting to see a lot of influence, other sectors of marketing, and people with just tons of cash. And all of our contracts are all cash contracts. And you know, so like for example, the Mandarin Oriental. Oh, for development is cash contracts. It's new development. So basically, this is great. If you're looking at your life and you're saying, listen, I'm not ready to make the move right now. I think maybe I'll make the move in 28 or 29. Then we would really kind of narrow you down to maybe new construction, depending on your price point, because that's attractive because you don't have to pay 100% of it today.
Right.
You'll do basically deposit schedule.
Yeah.
You'll do a 10% now, a 10% a year from now, depending on the project. So depending on your timeline is how we'll fit which new construction you'll be on, and you basically make installments no more than 40%. And then the 60% you close, like let's say in 28 or 29, depending on the project, could be 27 too. But that's a great product depending on your timing, depending on your price point, and especially if you want to be in a condo, in a high-end condo on the sand. But going back to your question, as far as demographic and age, I'm seeing the influx of new buyers coming into the market at younger ages. Is not just a seasoned age or, you know, the super ultra wealthy.
Yeah.
I am. As a matter of fact, I can tell you a new techie who's in the software engineering, he just bought almost an $8 million product. He's 39 years old, him and his wife, European. Who's in Brickell, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
Who's in Brickell.
and there's a lot of generational wealth happening.
Yeah.
For the parents in the room, you can actually gift. A lot of the purchases
Yes.
we're having are parents that are gifting to their
Mhm.
children.
Which come with very, again,
Yes.
safe from taxes, tax
Yes.
benefits on that, and the inheritance of that. And real estate as a whole is just dynamic with your depreciation, tax, and
Yes,
it's
benefits.
huge, a lot of tax benefits, especially in Florida, especially in Florida.
So we just put a sampling of some of the listings. You could kind of see the different products that we have in our market. This is a townhome in Lauderdale by the Sea, which is just south of Pompano. It's a beachfront, 4-bedroom or 3-bedroom, 4.5 bath. There's also a den entertainment. This is a townhome product that's just next to Las Olas, the 4-bedroom, new construction. We have some duplex style townhomes as well, very close to the city and in a very developed area residentially. And we have starting price points from 1.4 all the way. This is a $4 million product, just to give you kind of a range. And then we've definitely noticed a trend. We have in the condominiums, the larger floor plans. We have a lot of people during COVID, as you can attest to. Some of the biggest sales you had were the
Yes.
penthouses were the first to go,
Yes.
and your
Yes.
4 bedrooms. So this is a combined residence that we just launched in Pompano Beach, a new development. And then we have the 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, more traditional, and this is off of Lauderdale by the Fort Lauderdale Beach, actually 1.2 in a great building. It's a little bit of an older building, but it's been renovated with incredible views of the park and beach along the skyline.
Just this slide, you see the variation of product, right? So you've got what is this?
Right, 1.2.
A 1.2, like a 2.4, I'm just giving a range, and this one is like a
5.9.
5.9, giving you a range. So no matter what price point you're in, Florida has the product and that price. If you say, hey, Megan, Michelle, I don't want to spend more than $1 million,
Right.
no problem. We're going to go out and find you the best product for $1 million. So go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it's Michelle. I guess in Toronto, we're now getting into a place where we're in multiple offers of homes again.
Okay.
Am I going to be competing for that price?
You're
Or?
actually in a buyer's market.
Yes.
Okay.
It is shifted. It's a very good, because we were at a seller's market
Right.
and we just recently had a shift, I would say in the last 8 months,
Yep.
6 months. Yeah. And we just recently had a shift. So it puts buyers like yourself in a very strong position.
What do you think is prompting that shift?
We were just
It-
talking
you
about
know,
it. Yeah.
for the domestic clientele, interest rates have definitely
Yeah.
been a factor.
Yeah.
They've been higher. We were very used to the low environment. I mean, we're at
Yes, we were very
2.3% for really
spoiled.
long, and it has to go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people were on the sidelines with that, and then we didn't have enough new construction
Mhm.
product.
Mhm.
We have a slide that actually goes over how much new inventory we have, because the price points that some of the new construction, it prices out a few of our buyers. So I think that definitely was part of it. And with everything going on in the world, a lot of people needed a little bit of time to just take a moment, kind of reevaluate their portfolios, really figure out what the next move
And
was going to be.
I'll tell you another reason why people are politics. We're in election year.
Mhm.
Election year, people take a pause. They just say, let me wait and see.
Yeah.
Let's see what's
They spend
happening.
more after an election.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Absolutely. So
Which
that's
is why
one of
there's
the factors where
opportunity
people
now.
are just saying, I've got the money. I
Mhm.
want to buy there. I've already identified, but let me see. Let's see what's going to happen. Because we've got a lot of things happening worldwide,
Yes.
and we're all watching. We all have
Yeah.
a phone that we can see the entire planet on that
Right.
phone. Yes.
Are you seeing a difference in Canadian buyers investing in that renting to bullet in mind?
Oh,
yes.
absolutely.
Is there,
Oh yeah.
are there opportunities for property management?
Oh yes.
Absolutely.
Full turnkey.
Great question. Great
Yes.
question. Did you hear her question?
If you just repeat for those online.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
She was asking if there's opportunities when you're purchasing to rent the properties
Canadians.
out to Canadians. Absolutely. We actually have a full in-house team from interior designer. Once you've identified a property it's called Everything Concierge. They will literally do all the property management for you. If you're coming to town, they'll stock a fridge for you. Whatever you need, pay the bills, check your mail. you don't have to, because I know that's a big
It
concern
is.
when
it
you're
is,
not
it
there,
is,
and we have that all covered for you.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Sure.
Yeah, insurance. So again, we're here because we want to be truth tellers when it comes to real estate. We really do. So that's been actually probably one of the only major challenges in Florida as a state, at the entire state. I know that Governor DeSantis is really working with some insurance companies to kind of, rebalance what's happened. But, we had that one Hurricane Ian that
Mhm.
came in on the Naples side. And it did did a significant damage,
Yeah.
but as a state, I'll tell you what, it does matter who runs your state or your country or wherever you're at. It does matter, because that guy's a Navy SEAL. He went in and cleaned everything up, and it was fast. And now there's an emerging huge market in Naples, just to give you an example. But yes, we have had insurance premiums double. We've had them double.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that is why going back to a safe 10-year product is getting some new construction is fantastic,
Yes.
because you're getting all of your credits for insurance. The roof, impact windows, electrical, plumbing. These are things that drive up your insurance costs for, and identifying being in a flood zone versus not being in a flood zone. We kind of guide you with our insurance advisor, so you know ahead of time and can pre-plan, because that is a big chunk of your carrying
is.
costs, that
It
of
is.
property taxes.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I have a house in Naples, and our insurance did double.
Yeah. Ours
Yes.
too.
Fine. However, what you'll find is all the HOAs are like business stable systems, right, like in Florida. So they have like really big reserve funds.
Yes.
And I was on a board call 2 weeks ago with the HOA going through the finances and what happens. And then they have like really big reserve funds. They're prepared for it. Like they're just really organized. And so sucks that your insurance doubles, but they're also on the ball when it comes to like being responsible.
Yeah.
We're very impressed.
That's really a great point, because all the HOAs across the board have
Mhm.
been fully, like, we're over capacity on reserves. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody's pretty well.
because because of Surfside collapse,
Yeah,
we
that's
had
something.
the implement that is going to go into effect across the board in 2025, where you must have enough reserves.
Mhm.
And that is where
That's
we
small.
do
That's
our
small.
research. So if you have a building that's over 40 years, it's a 40-year certification. So we have a list, so we know have all of the maintenance items been done, because if they haven't, they're going to be mandated. What happens when they're mandated? You could come close and have $20,000 assessment. We have some buildings, $140,000 assessment. Balconies are being removed, and now the building's closed for a year. What happens to you if this is a rental property? So we actually really guide you through that, so you know what you're buying. Your expectations are
But
set.
not only that, but we do our due diligence ahead of time when it comes to various buildings, so we do not put you in that scenario. So we really love the newer real estate, and again, for all the reasons that she said. But with that said, we also have an in-house attorney, so that we can call on, literally, we can call her on the phone. She answers, "Hey, how are you?" And so, what do you need? What do you need? And it's great to have her, because when we do make a purchase for existing real estate, we go through the HOA. We look at, is there any assessments? Is there any litigation? We're doing that right now for a client. We go through the HOA minutes. So we have a legal team that goes through all the analytics, safeguarding you, making sure that this purchase is safe and you're going into a good scenario where all the reserves are healthy and so forth. Yes.
It's totally my fault and Megan's fault. We've got you talking with Q&A a little early, so why don't we let you go back to your presentation?
Oh, I love it.
Give
Engagement.
so many facts.
Yeah,
Why
love
don't
it.
you go a bit further,
Okay.
and then we'll put Jordan up and we'll
Okay.
answer all questions. Otherwise, you guys are just
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, if we go back
This
to the
is-
slide,
that-
we
so-
didn't, there was a penthouse.
Oh,
We didn't
yes,
go-
yes. So the
Can
last,
we go back
we'll go to the Auberge,
this one, yeah.
which
just-
is going to lead in. So
Yeah, just really quick. So we talk about new development. So, I work for a developer. This is one of the beautiful projects we've done, and this is in Fort Lauderdale. It's called Auberge Beach Residences, one of the newer products. Real estate does get old, and then real estate has age. This is young. This is only 6 or 7 years old, but it's directly on the sand, and it's 5 acres. It's super spectacular. This is a 2-story penthouse. It's exclusively our listing for a little over shouldn't say a little over, but yeah, anyways, it's 15 million. We have a new upcoming one that's 605 that'll be new to the market next week, and that's going to be about close to 10 million. And then we've got another 2-bedroom, fantastic 2-bedroom that faces the pool, glistening, the sun coming in, and that's at 3.3. Again, we have a variation of product, but this is specifically at Auberge Beach Residences and Spa in the city of Fort Lauderdale. That's an example of new development on the sand that is pretty luxurious in the city.
Quick question.
Yes.
So,
Demographic?
no,
Yeah.
is there a magic number in terms of years that suddenly it's not new, it's not considered new? Exit after the 10-year mark?
No, 10-year mark is still considered young, I would say. Even 20 years still, I could say it would be mid-age. I would say that you would be getting a little bit older if I were to put a number between 30 and up. 30 and up. Yeah, once if you go to a building that's 40 years old, I wouldn't even take you to a building that's that age. No, I wouldn't. No. There's too much new product.
Yeah,
Why would I
that's-
take you to an old product when there's so much new product on the market?
And the old stuff's not trading at it. Boring or
We're looking at appreciation acceleration. We
Yes.
want to put you in a scenario where even if your insurance cost may be doubled, it's irrelevant because your appreciation is going to do, right? Which balances offsets the cost of your insurance and HOA, because our real estate in our market, we're still young, we're growing at a rapid pace, and I don't see that slowing down, not for 1 second. And I say that because globally, all over the world, I'm watching, I'm seeing what's happening, and we don't have that life. We have a very different life in Florida, a very different life.
Yes.
We have a tremendous amount of freedom, and we have an incredible lifestyle that the entire world is paying attention. Yeah.
And and to talk to the developers and the new product really built and constructed these developments to touch up on lifestyle, on family. So while you may have an incredible unit in an older building, they're not giving you 5 acres of a resort style living. So when COVID hit, you were actually swinging in a hammock, barbecuing with your family, walking on the beach boardwalk, having a restaurant, having a spa. You were protected by all the environmental factors around you.
Yeah.
So that's why we really do love the newer product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to digress, because I agree, just price, cost per square foot, I know it ranges on where it is, let's say
Yeah.
condos, for example, and maintenance fees, like, can you give us a range that we can just?
A range, now it depends on the city, it depends on the tri-county, it depends on the city, it depends on the product. You can't generalize because Palm Beach is very different from Miami and then Broward. If I were to choose Broward, let's choose Broward, just as an example. So from low to high, do you want newer construction or
Either or, just a
existing?
range, is it like here, is it like 2,000 a square foot?
No. Some of your best product, I
Yeah.
would say value is Pompano Beach. And you get
And
new
you-
product on the sand.
Get something brand new for just under 1,000 a square foot and trickle up that to new
Yeah.
development, which will go over
So-
1,400 and 1,600.
So I would say, I would say from 1,000 to about, Ritz would be the top, I would say about 1,700 to 1,800 per foot, just to give you that big range, because you can't generalize a price per foot.
Yeah.
It's more of a macro question, but I'm a little bit more of an analyst, and I like to know exactly precisely which city, then I can answer
In
that.
Miami, is it like 3,000? I don't even know what
No.
it is here.
I'm selling actually the very top product in Miami, in Brickell. We're breaking records between 2,200 and 3,000 per foot in the Miami Brickell corridor. That's our,
Good to us.
Fully-
That's USD though.
fully
That's
fully
USD.
branded. Yeah.
This is
that's
Yeah.
pre-construction.
So
Well,
that's-
that was pre-construction,
Yes.
but Pompano, I was speaking on
Solamar just
existing.
turned
I was
over
new product. Like for example, Solamar is trading right now at 1,000 per foot.
Yes.
It's built.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Non-branded.
Non-branded. Yeah, we'll get into that too.
So this is in terms of timing, because we have to be very strategic, like we were mentioning. Maybe you're not looking to make the move and relocate your whole family, or you're looking at retirement plans. So pre-construction is a great vehicle for investment. You're locking in the market value now, which is incredible. We love our emerging neighborhoods like Pompano. And this just shows you a cycle of what we have in terms of product from the downtown core in Miami. You have a lot of traditional condos are the pink, and in the blue, you have the short-term condos. And then as you trickle towards the Bal Harbour Surfside area, little concentration here, and then you're seeing Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, and Hillsborough here. And
I'll make one comment because I'll make it very simple for everybody. Focus on all the pink dots. That's how much new buildings are coming. All the way from Miami, going all the way to Hillsborough. Look at all the pink dots. When you see that many pink dots going all the way up, that's new buildings, new buildings, new buildings, new buildings. We're actually getting brand new cities. I'm seeing, I walk out and everything's beautiful. I was like, wow, like, and I live there and I'm like, wow, everything's changing. And my bosses are doing it all.
and be very careful.
Yeah.
I hope no one back home is watching this, any developments, but we really love the traditional condos. The hotel condo spin, honestly, when you look at the numbers, what your cost, the carrying cost, the management fee, the property taxes, HOA, at the end of the day, if you're looking for a vehicle, for an investment vehicle, we're doing really well on our 6-month and annual rental rates.
Yes.
We've never seen that before. So we really do love because I get a lot of Canadians that say, I really want to do Airbnb. I really want to be in a hotel condo. Not necessarily the best bet. Little different if it's a branded, like
of course. My
little
product is different,
but I would definitely caution in terms of the Airbnb buildings that are being built.
Because again, the rental market is so strong that it definitely will support that expectation of return that you're really looking for.
And again, a lot of people say, oh, there's too much inventory. We have 1,200 people daily moving to South Florida.
Yes.
1,200, I feel it.
A lot.
When I'm driving on the road now.
You feel it on the road.
So we only have one condo that was delivered this year. We have 12 condominiums that are under construction and that have gone vertical. And we have 53 condos in the pre-construction or broken ground.
All those pink dots.
Only 7,800.
Megan, all those pink dots.
I know, all the pink dots, exactly. Only 7,800 units.
Yeah.
For the amount of migration we have. And that's going to be a couple years away.
So now we go into new development, and just to categorize new development, you would split it between your branded product and your non-branded product. We always will always gravitate towards the branded product because it just has so much value and it has longevity of an asset play. But non-branded is just as amazing. So again, there's a little product for everybody and what you need. Let's go on to the next slide. Ritz Carlton. So this is a project that I was spearheading. We had launched sales a couple years ago. We did amazing, amazing, amazing. This particular project is actually a total of 5 acres. And what was so special about this in the city of Pompano, we had exposure 2.5 acres right on the ocean and also 2.5 acres directly on the intercoastal. So we had the best of both worlds. We had sunrise, we had sunset, we had a beach club, and we had a marina yacht club. Not only that, we had the name the Ritz Carlton. Ritz Carlton brings a tremendous amount of appreciation from day one. We've broken every single record. We talk about price per foot. Our price per foot of blending is about 1,600 price per foot.
For when
1,600 square feet. But when we started, we were at about 1,100. We're at about 1,100 per foot.
8,
So again, when you're buying in a pre-construction, just your money sitting there, you're already getting appreciation. Just your deposits are already making you money. And so that's also something that's a great product that we love selling new dev, especially, and we got amazing options. So we do have still some opportunities here. We've got some like a 1-bedroom that's priced at about 1.2. And then we've got some 4 bedrooms. I only got about 8 or 9 units left. We're already groundbreaking and we're excited and we're going to close and we'll be done, I would say, probably in 2 years. Yes.
And this was the catalyst to Pompano Beach when we're talking about emerging markets, because we get a lot of calls. we know Pompano, is it really a sound investment to be purchasing in Pompano? And I even invested in this project.
Yes,
Because
she
I've
bought
been
a place
working
there, yeah.
for 10 years in Pompano Beach. I knew what the city officials were doing. And this is not just a license to use the name. It will be
Operated.
managed and operated for a 30-year agreement, the Ritz Carlton. The Ritz Carlton, when it comes to town, just like a Whole Foods, which is our higher end grocery store, they do their research, they do their analysis,
Demographics,
they
yeah.
look at the migration patterns and what's happening.
Both sides.
So this actually,
Just showing the both sides.
yes.
The best of both worlds. No, it is 100% residential. 100% residential.
unique.
However, you have all the hotel amenities, so all the exposure of that. You've got about 35,000 square feet of amenities. Like I said, what's in the mindset of developers today is your lifestyle. Oh, we have a
Yes,
dynamic on
yes,
this
you know
on the
your Ritz.
sand, on the sand restaurants. So listen, we sold out at a rapid pace. She has a question.
Would you say purchasers are local and then compared to international?
Ooh, we
Great question.
had a really nice blend of both. From the local market, they were coming out of older buildings.
Yep.
Buildings that were 30 years old. So they were our neighbors. Our neighbors were buying because everything around us is old real estate. And they're like, wow, finally, we got new architecture, new interior design. I can't believe the Ritz Carlton is coming. You've got an audience. They
Yes.
have people who follow Ritz Carltons all over
the
the world,
world.
just like Mandarin Oriental. Then they're like, listen, we want amenities. We want a pickleball court. We want that fireside. We want fire pits. We want this. We want that. We brought it all. We brought 35,000 square feet of amenities. And we're the neighbors. The neighbors are walking in. We're buying. We're buying. We'll stay here. We'll sell it. And then we'll wait till this is done. So that was a huge, huge demographic of our buyers. Big Canadians.
I mean, a tipping point was a
Wow,
Canadian who called me
Canadians.
from their lake
Yes.
house and said, I have a very large family.
Penthouse.
I want a penthouse and I want a pool. Fortunately, we could get her the pool, but we got her the
We got a
penthouse,
penthouse.
one of the last remaining.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yes. We had a lot of Canadians who bought at the Ritz. Yes.
Because when it comes to pre-construction investment, there's always a due date attached with it. What I find in Toronto is that due date, the goalposts, it keeps getting moved, all the time. You have to carry that. I'm just wondering, what's the situation down in Florida in terms of timelines and getting completion on the due date? Because as a buyer, you're expecting a certain product
Yeah.
on a due date, and if you don't get it,
Excellent
it's
question.
very
We're
frustrating.
within some of our, if we were to look at kind of all our trending delivery dates, we're within a year of our initial due date. Because we always make room for delays or what have you. It could be supplies, we're kind of in a different area, but we're about a 1
So
year.
that's the expectation of
Yes,
your
yeah.
investor
I think
and-
that's
Exactly.
fair.
We're within a year. Let's say if they set a particular due date, then we're within a year. We never carry over to 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. And actually, you know what, that raises a very good question too. So just because it's new dev and this developers here, we know the business so well and know all the players in the game. That's what I can tell you. We know what developers who know what they're doing, and we know the developers who don't know what they're doing. We are not here just to sell you, just to make a quick buck. This is not about, this is education. This is our life. This is our livelihood. Not only that, this is your life.
Yes.
So if you get in a jam, we get in a
Yes.
jam. That's
Yes.
not what we want. So there are only certain projects and developers we will focus on because historically they have a good,
Track
exactly, they
record,
have a reputation
good-
to build
the
and
good
build. and-
funding, the investors,
Correct,
the funds
correct.
behind.
Exactly.
But it's also setting the expectation. So we do have in-house counsel who will go over the new development complexities of the contract because they're very different than our standard traditional as-is contract. And through that process, we're setting the expectations, we're negotiating terms with the developer, we know what to expect because a lot of people come and they've never gone through a transaction like this. So we definitely set the tone so that the buyer doesn't expect we're closing at the state.
Yeah.
There's going to be a little bit of room, and it's not just finding the property and disappear for 2 years. We
Yeah.
do aerials, we do
Yeah.
videos, our buyers are welcome to come into the sales gallery. We're there with the process of
Yeah.
picking the selections. That's like the best part of
Yeah, you know, I
what we
really
do.
take pride in educating. You know, it's just one thing, we sell real estate, but we educate. That's why we're here. We're educating you on our market. We're educating you on our buyers on our development and product and so forth.
So, and we are here to set up any one-on-one calls with you,
Yes.
because I know we have a little bit of
Yeah.
time left.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to touch up on the Waldorf Astoria is actually another
Right
development.
next door to,
Right next to the Ritz.
Yeah.
It's going to be walking distance, single tower. It was very recently launched, just a
Yes.
couple months ago.
very new
It will be
product.
the first flagship for Waldorf residential. So no hotel component as well, and a restaurant that's open to the public. So we'll be we'll have drinks there. And incredible amenities that
Yeah.
we definitely can share with you.
Mhm.
And then following through that, we have a little bit of Mandarin if you want to share the
Mm.
Mandarin.
Ooh, the Mandarin. So this is a new launching for Miami. We are situated. Have anybody ever been to Brickell Key?
The island off of
Anyone? Wow. So right next door to Brickell is a 34-acre island. Absolutely gorgeous. So imagine wanting to be and play a part of Brickell and the urbanization. We actually are situated. This is 5 acres on an island with unobstructed views, forever views, what I say. And it's really a once in a lifetime opportunity. Us as developers, we've owned the site for up to almost 20 years. And so there's been, people just been waiting for us to come out. And we've just newly released. This is the president of Swire Properties. We are Mandarin. That's the island. That is us. And we're on the very last 5 acres. It is supreme product. We are number 1 in the entire state. It's a $2.4 billion sellout. And it is, if you are even entertaining Miami and you're looking in that whole area, this is the project. This is it. And I can tell you more specifically in person. Yeah.
And then we do have some printouts, financial considerations. We just had a partnership with City National Bank, which actually can provide financing options for Canadians and treat them as similar to a domestic client in the United States. So this is also another partnership we've established. We can do all Zooms. We can do one-on-one meetings with them, our advisors, but it's a great program. I'm very excited to have this. And then quickly, 2 minutes of Leo can just have
Please.
a moment to share Dominican Republic. He came all the way from Dominican Republic to chat with you. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna make it pretty quick. I'm Leo Fabut, born in France, living in the Dominican Republic since 10 years. So I saw the Dominican Republic becoming the stronger and #1 destination on the Caribbean. So 26 of the tourism are coming from Canada. We have the Scotiabank helping American and Canadian people to have financing. And I'm exactly on the North Coast, which is, we can call it as the little diamond of Dominican Republic. We have an airport open since nine years, international airport, and we have only 2 destinations with direct flight, which is Montreal and Toronto. So that's why, yes,
Yeah.
I think almost 40% of the people buying in where I live are from Montreal and Toronto.
That's
So-
amazing.
So the opposite of Punta Cana. North Coast.
Yes.
No, but it's a really good question.
That's a
Because,
good
for example, I'm gonna ask, how many people came to the Dominican Republic already?
Wow, quite a
Yeah.
few.
How many came in Punta Cana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
No worries, because a lot of people think that Dominican Republic is inside Punta Cana.
Yes.
Yeah, Punta Cana is like
Oh, don't look at me now, please.
So yes, and I'm representing luxury houses and high-end development. We have a special loan for the pre-construction. If I sell a pre-construction, it would be only with the comforter law, where you don't pay the 3% of title transfer, doesn't pay tax for 15 years, and doesn't pay any tax on income rentals also for 15 years. So
Very
if you have any question or any project, I will help you in person. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we want to invite Jordan up to join our Q&A. So don't worry, guys, we're not running anywhere. We can absolutely have a conversation, grab a glass of wine, and we'll just start Q&A. Maybe just a moment or so.
You did amazing.
Wow.
This is so fun.
You did great.
That's so good.
Es complicado.
What a
came after you.
great conversation. What a good, oh, I have a sister who lives in Fort Lauderdale. Really? Oh, wow. You enjoyed it?
Yeah, I like Miami.
Oh, what was your name again? Maria? Megan.
Oh, Maria.
Yes.
Dude.
Wow. You're from Peru?
Yeah, I need to change my mind about this story.
We get that a lot.
Yes. Did you buy there?
No, but I'm thinking.
You should come.
See, I want to go there too. Can we go there? I want to go.
That's the thing. Yes.
for his digest of what you should consider when taking on an international property. So, Jordan, your high-level thoughts, then we'll go into Q&A.
Sure, nothing more exciting after a drink break than talking about tax.
You need a
So I'm
drink.
just excited with you guys, but I guess I've asked to speak on that. So a couple of things. I'm not an international tax expert. I'm not a cross-border tax expert. I'm a Canadian tax guy. But just working in Toronto, I have a lot of clients that own vacation properties, own U.S. rentals. You know, I was exposed to it actually, interestingly enough, first in 08, 09, when a lot of Canadians, the dollar was really strong, went down and made fantastic investments in Florida, buying single family homes. I think they made like 40% on the exchange and 200% on the investment. But, you know, that was, I guess, my first exposure to it. I guess the things to think about is it's completely different if it's a rental versus personal use. Typically, I guess just high level thoughts on if you're going to do a personal use property, don't buy it in corporation. There are reasons we do that for certain estate planning, but for most of you, assume you'll buy it personally. You got to come up with the cash personally. Financing, I know they have solutions. I'm actually really interested to hear about that. Usually that has been pretty difficult for Canadians to use Canadian sources of financing. If it's a personal use property, you typically have no U.S. taxes to report annually. You have in Canada, there's a form called a T1135 form, which is a foreign disclosure form that typically does not come into play for a personal use property. So you really have nothing to annually report. On sale, you have to factor in foreign exchange. Like we have a lot of people who call me and say, I have no taxes, but they bought it when the dollar was 115 and now it's 135. You're buying and selling a different foreign exchange market,
Right.
could lead to a gain. Also, you got to be very conscious with the tax. What happens is you'll have a capital gain, hopefully, you need money. And then it always, no matter what happens when you deal with Florida especially, is the Canadian tax rate is always high. Okay, and if you haven't heard the news from yesterday, it's going to be, for many of you, even higher. So the Canadian tax rate is always higher. What happens is whatever tax you pay, Florida doesn't have a state tax. Whatever tax you pay in the US typically recalculates the difference in Canada, and you pay the higher tax rate in Canada. So just be mindful that you could have a cash flow crunch in the sense of there usually is some withholding tax when you sell, but your Canadian taxes could pick up quicker. You got to outlay before you get your money back in Canada. So just talk to an accountant and understand your tax exposure. Usually on the Canadian side, you can do some sort of RSP planning, but you can't cut it too close because you're going to have a foreign tax credit and you want to make sure it matches so there's no double tax. Just watch that. If you have a rental, you're into the, you'll have a US filing. So when you talk to them and go over the rental pro forma of how it looks, factor in a few extra $1,000 in that what they're considering. Because it's expensive to file a US tax return with being in Canada. Okay? So just, it's part of the numbers, right? All the US tax equation that's harder for us to manage than if you're an American citizen. And then last but not least, is probably the most important, be mindful of days spent in the US.
Yes.
Everything in tax is driven on residency. That is like the be all end all of tax. If you become a non-resident, a whole bunch of things happen. That could be what you're looking for or not looking for. But there are considerations on exiting country. There are considerations on entering country. And the rule of thumb is 183 days. Remember, a day, if you're a Canadian resident, a day in the US is not worth a day. It's based on number. A day 3 years ago is worth less than a day last year. There's actually an equation, okay? And the more days you spend in the US, as you get creep up to 183 days, be mindful of the equation. It doesn't mean you're going to become a US resident, even if you go over or under. It does mean you might trigger what's called a closer connection filing. It's like an information return. If you have a whole lack of companies, that could become a very heavy reporting exercise. If it's just
I'm going to ask a dumb question because I think it might be on people's minds. So I think for a long time, a lot of people just waited just short of that to come back to make sure they maintain their health benefits in Canada, all that. So when you talk about this calculation, when does the clock start and when does it restart?
well, it's an annual, it's a clock every year because it looks at the last 3 years.
Right. Last three.
But then it stops.
It resets every year.
It resets and then redoes it again every year.
Year.
It's a new calculation every year. Basically, if you're under 183 days, you typically have nothing to worry about. If you're over, you typically have a form to worry about. A lot of people don't even file. I'm just telling you what you're technically supposed to do. And this form requires additional disclosures to the IRS. And it doesn't necessarily mean you pay any tax. Because when you're talking about residency gets into what's called the treaty. It's more of an immigration.
Right.
There's tax rules and immigration rules. I'm talking about the tax rules. And there's, for all intents and purposes, like just because you have to file that, if you do go kind of close to the threshold and you get dragged into this closer connection filing, which hopefully you don't have to deal with, then you're into disclosures. It doesn't make you a resident of the US, okay? Once you're closer to that threshold, then you get into what's called tiebreaker rules. In general, tiebreakers are where do you live, where's your family, where's your economic interests, you know, where do you spend your time, et cetera, et cetera. And there's actually tiebreakers in there. Basically, we call it the look, smell, and feel test. Where does it look like you live? Like so that's more common sense than you think. But you got to be careful because if you are spending, you know, 6 months plus a day in the US, you're involved with some businesses down there, you sold your home in Canada, you don't have family back here, you could be dragged into the residency states without even knowing it.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of locations on exit and entry, like I said. So nothing to fear, just be understanding the basic thoughts that are up front.
I'm just a little confused because a lot of, we'll call them snowbirds, go down for 6 months minus. They go down 6 months minus a day over multiple years, but you're saying it.
It resets every year.
It resets every year.
Every year.
Not
Yes.
every.
No,
No,
every
no, no,
year.
no.
Every
The
year.
calculation's
The
done every
calculation,
year.
Yeah.
So
Every year.
you could actually spend, like, for example, you could spend 0 days. Again, I'm not a US
But say
across
you do
perspective.
6 months.
You could spend
For
0
4
days
years
in
in a row.
years 3 years ago, 0 days last year, and maybe a little over this year, and you could be okay based on the calculation.
Oh, I see,
Right?
but as long as you're under this.
Yeah, as long as you're under, in general, that's the rule of thumb, because if you're always under that, you're always fine. Okay, but you can't look at it so simplistically. You could actually be over 1 year and then way behind another year and be okay. And again, that's not for residency. That's for like these closer connection considerations, right? Residency is a whole nother matter.
So you can't carry over the days like from 1 year to the other?
No
So if you
carry
spend
over.
less than 6 months in 1 year,
I don't
you
think
can't
so.
carry those days over.
I don't
to
think you
this-
can, but again, it's based on weighted averages. You got to talk to the cross border.
How does it work for OHIP? Like as far as if you're Canadian resident, you go.
I'm not a special, my understanding is OHIP is based on residence.
Yeah,
Rem-
so like
rem-
if you're gone for 7 months.
Oh, that doesn't make you a non-resident. Hang on, if you're, again, like residence, like this is like,
Or it's not a tax one.
again, residency is a tax question, it's also an immigration question. And there's different rules for both. You could be usually they'll drive, but they sometimes don't drive, number one. But like OHIP is based on residency, my understanding. And just because you go over somewhere for 7 months doesn't make you a non-resident. Okay? There's many reasons why people can go over. So typically it's pretty hard to see through OHIP. in what I
Oh,
heard.
it's a rosé.
Do you have any clients? I always know people that are going somewhere for long term. They are typically working remotely, but they might go buy a place somewhere and then leave at a certain time and then rent it off. An investment property, they end up like keep moving around. I also know a lot of people that have a lot of money and are trying to completely exit out of Canada, out all of their money, moving to either the States, they're moving to Cayman Islands, they're trying to get out of the taxes of Canada. And one of the things that I hear from somebody who's trying to move to Miami right now, what I'm looking into, would be that they're concerned about paying double tax.
Thank you.
And how would you say, like, why is anyone concerned about paying double tax for that? If they're living here and working, they're a Canadian citizen. Are you paying tax as a Canadian, paying tax as an American? with
Oh, wow.
a visa?
Oh.
There's a lot of technical questions. I'm gonna try to address some of these very quickly. No, good
Oh,
question.
no,
So,
it's good.
first of all, remote work in general is throwing a wrench in. Like the tax rules were not necessarily designed for people moving
Right.
around.
Yeah.
You have the NAFTA agreement too,
Like
so I
you-
do know that.
Like you can nowadays. But like again, residency, I'm not an expert in residency, so I'm just gonna comment at a high level, but you have to be a resident somewhere. if you're moving around enough, but you're nowhere, that doesn't make sense, but you gotta be somewhere. So maybe it's not Canada, but then did you ever exit properly? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm gonna leave that one alone. Now for the question of exiting Canada. So if you become a non-resident of Canada, for example, go to the US, I have that a lot with our wealthier clients. High level, certain things are taxed on exit, certain things aren't. So you basically go over your assets, you go over the, like real property isn't, business, like if you have a corporation that is, RSPs aren't, some non-registered accounts are, you got to go over them and figure out, okay, like how much of a tax bill do I actually have to pay to get out? Okay. When it comes to residency on a Canadian side, it's pretty straightforward in the sense of once you cease to be a non-resident of Canada and you pay your exit taxes or post bond, I guess you call it. You can actually post collateral. But let's call it, you pay your exit taxes. Once you're out, you're out. There's no double tax. The issue is more on the American side because the American system, if you become a US resident, they reach all over the world. Okay. Whereas the Canadian tax system does not do that. The Canadian tax system, like most countries, if you're not a resident, you can still be a citizen. Okay. So again, citizenship is different than residency. So if I go, I move my family to Florida, let's say, in the Ritz Carlton, I don't, as long as I exit okay, I no longer, and I have no Canadian source of income that I have to worry about. I don't have to pay tax in Canada, even though I'm a Canadian citizen
Right.
and hold the passport. So the double taxation is more of an issue on the US side. Now, you asked another question there on double tax. In general, any country that Canada has a foreign tax treaty with, which is a lot that most of the countries we deal with, there's typically no double tax. In general, if you deal with it properly, okay? Meaning, like, I'll give you the biggest example. So if you have a US rental property and you're resident of Canada, you do US rental property, you make, I don't know, $10,000 a year and you pay $1,000 to the IRS, just an example. On your Canadian tax return, it recalculates the rental income. Recalculate your income with all your other income. And then that tax you paid on the US already paid to the IRS is deducted from your Canadian taxes. Hence no double tax. Okay, so there's a tax treaty, make sure there's no double tax. Nowadays, that exercise is becoming a very big headache. So again, factor your compliance fees, deal with it. It's a big dance with the CRA right now. And number two is there are situations where double tax can arise. Essentially, corporations can cause it. You're not dealing with corporations properly. And there's some other accounts, like if you're American and you have TFSA accounts, like that's an example, potentially could arise from. So just get advice if that's happening. But in general, if you do it right, you really shouldn't have to worry about double tax. When you go and invest in Florida, it's not double tax really, it's just the extra compliance costs. And if it's a personal use property, then you really have nothing until sale. So it's really just an issue if there's a rental property, and then if it's a personal use property, just deal with it on sale. So it's really a good destination.
Do you guys see why I like working with Jordan? He makes things very simple.
Yeah.
When it can be.
Yeah. I do have just a question that I want to.
There's somebody out there, I can't remember his actual name, but his company is called Nomad Capitalist.
Oh.
And he explains everything that you're talking about plus more in great detail.
Oh, great.
And so it's all about being a nomad and living in different places and different times and trying to get citizenships in countries that are tax friendly or no tax. And so so you're right on point with what he's saying. And I've read a lot about it. But if anybody is interested in doing that kind of thing, that's a really great site to get information. Like it's really well researched.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, I had just a question, just to clarify. Are you recommending that if there's anyone Canadian who's looking to purchase in Florida, let's just say, or that you recommend it in their name and not necessarily on a entity like an LLC? Was that clear?
Or trust, yeah.
So a couple of things. LLCs as a Canadian is really bad.
Doesn't exist actually.
Trust.
An LLC is a dirty word from Canadian tax standpoint. Okay.
Okay. It's good to know.
In general, it's actually very, very commonly used for Americans. Very bad here.
Okay. Yes.
C corps. We like C corp. If we're going to use a corp, we'll use a structure. We'll use a C corp.
A C corp, not an S corp. A C corp.
C corp. I guess it could be an S corp. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, C corp is what I usually hear.
Okay.
That being said, is that you got to remember our tax system is completely different than theirs.
Okay.
And a lot of times dealing with Florida, again, I'm not a cross-border expert, but I've
Yeah.
seen it, is when you hear about a trust in Florida, it's a land trust.
Mhm.
You guys use it for title, for
Right.
ease of transferring title. In our world of Canadian trust, it's not a trust. It's more like a bear trust or like these fake trusts. So they will use land trusts. We have a lot of clients that will own it through a land, hold title through a land trust. But for all intents and purposes, it's not a trust.
Mm.
And it's just reported on your personal tax return, and it's used for some reason for title.
Mm.
But again, that's an entity difference because we don't have entities like you've never purchased a house in Toronto using a land trust. It doesn't exist.
But
It's just-
you recommend that transaction in a person's name. Like if somebody here says, hey, I'd like to buy a Ritz Carlton, and
Well,
we
everything's-
would recommend their personal name.
everything's based on the personal situation of the person.
Correct.
So I don't want to blanket
Right,
give
right.
advice, but in general,
A lot of what you're seeing.
a lot of times you'll find that's where it needs to be more often than
Wow,
not.
that's really interesting. I didn't know that. Oh,
So
that's
everyone,
great.
we'll do about maybe 5-10 more minutes of questions with our panel, and then we'll mingle. They're not going anywhere. I think they'll
We're
stay
here.
if we
We're
keep
not
them
going
on our
anywhere.
spot. So, guys, what questions do you have for all of our panelists? Jacqueline, did you have a question?
What incentives are you seeing for, so sorry, were you gonna,
No, no.
are you seeing any incentives from developers? For construction, for purchasing coming meetings or not locals or attract those people? I know that it's a hot market.
Yeah. Not any incentives for any one, let's say, demographic worldwide, because we do have a world audience. So it's not just the Canadians, but it could be Dubai, it could be London, it could be South Americans, Mexicans, we really honestly have a global audience, which is very unique. I mean, you see what's happening to Florida. It's becoming the new Beverly Hills, the new Hollywood, the new New York. I mean, it's transforming. But for, I think developers, they're eager to say, hey, come in early while we're in reservation stage. Come in the early stages where they do offer pretty great price per foot, like pretty good values as early as you can get into a project. And that's where Megan and I were privy to that information. And
First.
instead of putting you in a project that's been for sale for a couple years,
Exactly.
we'll get you and find you as soon as it's about to launch or pre-launch to get you that best price.
That's how we got very close.
Yes.
With the Ritz Carlton was about to launch, we already had a list of people that were looking for new construction.
Yeah.
We were up late nights for
Oh yeah.
weeks getting our
Weeks.
buyers in before, ahead of everyone else.
Mhm.
And we still do have some off-market opportunities now because we like to match our buyers who purchased at the Ritz and their circumstances have already changed. So we really are very closely tied to every project in that
Yes,
regard.
yes.
But back to incentives, what they were doing a couple years ago was decorator ready. That was a term. No flooring in the primary areas, just in the wet areas like the kitchen and baths. Now the developers are offering
Finishing
full
units.
flooring throughout and a lot of options. I mean, Mandarin, stunning options.
Oh, it's stunning options. So
Designer
that's
in
actually a
Paris.
really good point. So there was a pivot because we do a lot of, corporate conversations and staff meetings. And we're like, what are you hearing from your buyers? What are their needs? What do they want? And then they basically pivot and they change how they develop and how we finish units. One of the biggest things is like people like yourself, they want a move-in ready scenario. Where like they don't want to deal with flooring, they don't want to deal with the aftermath of like renovation and what have you, the add-ons. And they said, you know what, across the board, you started to see developers finish, and they're doing high-end appliances. They're doing not only the interior but also the exterior. I mean, they're going all out just to finish the product. So you're in a move-in scenario. That's actually a great incentive. Yeah.
This might be a generalization, but you're generally seeing like a 20 to 30% ROI by the time these projects are.
Yes, depends on the product, depends on, here's what I would say, the difference between branded and non-branded, branded, yes.
Yeah.
It depends on what
Yeah.
project you choose and what's the location and saturation,
Yes.
pipeline, absorbency. So there's a formula
Timing.
to all this. And, I'm thankful to have a partner like Megan, we're very tech, we're very analytical. So we love stats of the market and we love the fine tuning of the intricacies of a project. So we get to the real heart of value. So it depends on what you choose. And that's why you have experts like us to pinpoint you exactly to get the highest rate of return.
Sure, because
Absolutely.
Telling it.
Right.
It's nice
Correct.
to know that their investments.
Absolutely. And historically, what we've seen, what you, like an example of, let me use, let's say which project should we use as an example of
Auberge.
beginning? If we use Auberge.
Yeah.
I have a client who, let's say they bought at an $850 per foot on the sand, Auberge, and I will say in 2018. We're now in 2024. That $850 per foot. Today we're doing a closing. We're doing a closing on Friday. That's going to hit 2,000 per foot. So from 2018 to 2014, that's what a 6 year. That's a 6 year. That's going $850 per foot, going to 2,000 per foot, which I'm closing on Friday. That's to give you a very good example of buying. Timing is important. Buying the right product at the right time. Timing is crucial. It's crucial. There's a formula to this.
One more question, and then I think let's mingle, and there's individual questions people want to have access to for. Linda, I'll wrap up.
I'm not sure, mine may be too broad, but what would your pitch be to buyers who are interested in Florida to come to the Tri-County side of Florida versus the West Coast? My husband and I, we've just come back from Naples. We were there for a long weekend.
Oh.
A lot of our friends, a lot of Toronto people
Yes.
are on that coast, Naples, and they're trying to get us and our friends to come down there. So we also know people on your side. And I'm not saying that we're actually buying, but to buyers, what's your pitch? What's your love of
gosh,
that, of
I
what you
really,
do?
I
How
gotta
do you
be
talk
very.
them into coming to your side?
It's just, well, it's not only that,
comes out with buying a candy.
but to be really honest, South Florida on the East Coast, we have a plethora of options. And now if you love just kind of entertaining or being out and about, you literally have the dynamics of going. Let's say you ended up buying in Broward County, okay, which is really kind of in the center of all three tri-counties. Literally, you wake up on a weekend saying, hey, listen, I feel like going to Brickell. And you're at the hottest dynamic, like shopping. I mean, just in a whole, with museums, there's so much to choose from. My gosh, that's a whole entertaining day for, that's a whole options. Then you've got Palm Beach. Palm Beach, wow, that's only 40 minutes away from Broward. There's elegant places to go, restaurants.
There's a stat that came out. We have the MLB, we have the Dolphins, we have Formula One coming in May, we have the Inter Miami team now, we have tennis. We just had the Miami Open.
Concerts,
so a lot of
the accessibility to options
incredible.
Is absolutely incredible. Literally at your doorstep.
Exactly.
You can take a train. You can take that new train that goes direct to Miami. Go to a concert. Go to opera. Go anywhere. So you have options. Literally in about an hour and a half, like radius. That Napa, not Napa, I'm thinking LA, but Naples. It doesn't have that infrastructure.
They go to your side.
They go to our side, but a lot of the
development, people that
a lot of developments, like big developers, like the developer that I work for, we focus on South Florida, East Coast. That's where the epicenter of our development is focused on. And when you see those big billionaire developers focusing on one sector, that's where you're seeing all the options and the influx of new restaurants and shopping centers and you can't compare.
And the last thing too, and the last thing is we have the international airports, the largest ports in the world
Cruises.
Here. So there's always going to be someone who's for the West Coast. And
Yes.
we have offices there. So, but my recommendation before you make that decision, you must come and you must explore.
Enjoy,
and then you'll make the decision that's right for
enjoy.
you.
And it'll be fun exploring.
I think people
Exactly.
are literally booking their flights.
Oh, you can come with us tomorrow morning.
So first of all, a round of applause for our visitors.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Just quick, thank you to the law staff who is on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you
you.
all for joining us today. This was our
Thank you
best
so
attended
much.
event yet. We really appreciate you joining.
Thank
And
you.
let's stay for a glass of wine and talk more.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.